Hello, welcome to the show. And I'm so excited today to have the amazing astrologer, Dabney Lawless. And she's going to be talking about the No Kings Parade, the Pope, and the upcoming astrology. So let's see I'm so excited to see what's going on. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sibyl. So fun to be here. I always love coming on and chatting with you about the current events, the current astrological weather, and how we can kind of make the most of it in our own personal worlds as well, and sort of give a take on what I think is going to happen.
Okay.
And so do you want me just to sort of start with the current cosmic weather? Does that sound like a good place to start?
Sure, but first of all, I just want to say I love your background, and you said you're by the beach in California.
Yes. Yeah, we kinda
Yay! Having
needed
a
a little,
fun.
like, getaway, my family and
Yeah,
I.
I love it. Okay. All right. Yeah, I go that's about 40 minutes west southwest of here, but
Yeah,
it's a
we pass
beautiful
right through
area.
you. Yeah, we
Beautiful
pass
area.
right through. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
Where you are.
All right.
Yeah.
So what's going on? Tell us
Okay.
the 411.
So I wanna give you guys some good information, first and foremost, which is that this time, as we all know, astrologically, is filled with intensity. I mean, I don't think anybody can say, like,
Full moon too. We got full moon.
we can talk about that as well. But yeah, so that's the first thing coming up. But, the bigger picture that I want to zoom out on is that, since November, really since January even, there has been this like feeling of like, what's going on? Like, kind of like a deer in the headlights, like overwhelm. There was a big sense of depression for a lot of us. And a lot of confusion, right? A lot of the different channels are saying different things, and it's like, what do we believe? Who do we turn to? So, I just wanna ground us into the fact that all of these planets are shifting over. Now, we're gonna talk about all of that right now because 'cause we've done that in past videos, but I think that there was a big shift that took place when Neptune moved out of Pisces and into Aries. Okay, and that happened on April 30th. That coincided with Cory Booker doing his 24-hour, speech that sort of lit a fire that was like, "Oh my god, somebody's finally doing something."
Oh.
And suddenly, and it wasn't just Cory Booker. We just started to have new voices emerging like Chris Murphy, and we have AOC and Bernie attracting crowds of like 30,000, even in red and purple states. So there's this sense that people are waking up and recognizing we don't have to feel helpless. We don't have to feel like victims of corruption. We don't have to feel like everything is out of our hands. And so there was kind of this movement toward re-empowerment, which is Aries. Pisces on the downside can feel, and we've had Pisces, Neptune and Pisces since 2011. And so some good things came out of Pisces, Neptune and Pisces, but also some tough things. A rise in addiction, rise in homelessness, fake news, like, the emergence of all of this kind of confusion and destruction of our trusted institutions. That's all very Piscean. It's at the end. So at the end comes a beginning. All right. And Pisces is the last sign in the zodiac. Aries is the first one. So now we have Neptune moving into Aries. So Aries is about bold action. It's about understanding where you're going. It's much more direction oriented, and it's about beginnings. It's about something new. Now, the first thing was the Neptune. Now, what's coming up now in May is Saturn is flipping into Aries. Saturn is, I'm kind of saying there's a new sheriff in town. So the old sheriff, the one that we've had for 2.5 years, has been a little out to lunch, has been a little complacent, has been a little like, I don't know what to do. Because Saturn is structure, Saturn is boundaries, and Saturn's accountability. Saturn is kind of the lord of time and karma. And in Pisces, Pisces has no boundaries. Pisces sort of lets things go. Pisces is like, sure, pass the joint. Like there's kind of this sort of more like, oh, whatever. And didn't it feel like that the past 2.5 years where we were like screaming at the courts, like, what do you mean he has immunity? Like, what are you talking about? Like, just everything sort of just seemed to like not have any form or accountability. Like everybody just got away with everything.
Mm.
Well, there's a new sheriff in town because
Mm.
Aries doesn't let people get away with things. Aries is new. Aries is strong. Aries is powerful.
Mhm.
And so it's not all roses, but I will say there is some hope for a renewed accountability. And all of a sudden, and if you haven't seen the speech by Letitia James she's a
Right.
New York prosecutor. She's on fire. That's Saturn and Aries to a T. Like, I think I may even do a whole video on my channel about
Oh,
Letitia
yeah.
James and this Saturn and Aries energy because
Oh,
that's what
yeah.
we're getting.
Meanwhile, while I remember
I
it,
know,
check
talk.
out Dabney's channel. She's got an awesome astrology channel. And what is your
Oh, yeah,
name?
it's Lawless Astrology.
I love
And
that name. That's fun. Lawless Astrology. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
and also I've got a new course.
Oh,
If you've always wanted to learn astrology, but you don't, it confuses you. The course is specifically designed for people who are non-astrologers, so you can
okay.
read your own chart.
Oh,
And
cool.
we've got 2 live sessions coming up May 14th and May 21st, but there's a ton of recordings that you'll have for a lifetime
Okay.
that you can kind of go back to, and it's only $79.
And where do people find that?
So you can find it on my website, Lawless Astrology, and I can put it in the comment section too.
Okay. Yeah. Now I've had a reading but you're not doing readings anymore.
So you can get on my waiting list. I've
Oh,
been
yeah. Well,
really
waiting.
busy.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I have a family, I have a full-time job, and I do this. So I do
Oh, wow.
in I only do a couple a week, and I'm taking a pause for the summer, but you can get on my waiting list.
Okay. 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 Yeah. Because awesome readings. I've had some really accurate readings. I love astrology. It gives a roadmap and a lot of times it confirms what I'm looking at something, I'm like, okay, and then the astrology and I'm like, oh yeah, that yeah. So
It's so
but
confirming.
yeah, I did feel like things were just kind of like, oh, and I felt like the Democrats were just like, I'm like, oh my God, they're kind of like herding cats anyway, like they're going meow. And I'm like, do something. And now, so
Yeah, we're
that's very
finding our
cool.
voice, we're
So
finding our
so
team.
April 30th this went in.
So
This
April 30th is when Neptune went into Aries, and
how long
now
does it stay in there?
May, and so that will be there for like over a decade.
Hey, I'm Aries. I'm Aries. I've been loving it. I've been loving this new energy.
You will, because yeah,
Yeah.
she's an Aries, and one thing I love about your channel is you do call out the Democrats like I do, where it's like, come on, grow a pair. Let's do
Yeah,
something.
it isn't a Democrat or a Republican thing. It's like a people thing.
Right.
That's why I'm really looking forward to this new Aquarius energy. I love Pisces. In Vedic astrology, I am a Pisces. And I'm close to Pisces. I love Pisces spirituality, but my understanding is the age of Pisces was when it's out of balance, can be addictions, corruption, religion, dogma. That's why I wanted to talk about the Pope too. And so I'm really looking forward to this more power to the people energy. And in my sign, there's something, and I can't remember that you were telling me what it was because I'm not an astrologer, but I know enough to get around the block. But I might take your course too. But anyway, so there's this energy coming in about, now I forgot what I was saying about Aquarius, power to the people. Yeah, looking for leaders. That's what it was, because it feels like I get like when I grew up, my family dysfunction was I got astrologically abused because my sisters would say to me, "Oh, you're such an Aries. You're just impulsive and you're rash and you just don't even think about things. You rush forward." And maybe when I was younger, I used to hit my head a lot because I would just start running and without thinking about it or not, paying attention or being in my body. But I also feel like there's like a hero energy or something about strength or leaders. And then I heard this you told me this astrological thing about Aries coming into as a planet coming into looking for leaders that are actually leading people and there to be of service rather than enriching themselves or in with the elite crowd trying to control or brainwash people so they can have, do whatever they want. Because I feel like most people want peace. They want good things. They want, their family to be helped or something. And that there's a lot of leadership that is, even on both sides, that is not really like the Democrats would do things, but they would just do like, they got prescription drugs for elderly people, one drug.
Right.
When they're all price gouging, and then they got one thing done, and that was good. That helped those people, but I mean, like, good Lord, it takes like, how many years of talking about it, and then they finally do one little thing, and aren't you happy about that? And people are like, well, what about everything else? And just so I just think I'm hoping it's a time on Earth, in our world where leaders can step forward. And that's why I wanted to talk about the Pope, because that was exciting energy to see somebody who, I know we had Francis, and I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, but I'm all religion or no religion. I love the saints, Saint Francis of Assisi, and I've studied people like that and their prayers, but I liked Saint Francis, but I really was kind of turned off with the Catholic Church because I've done past life regressions and remembered the witch trials, and then there was that, the sexual abuse stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not really into all that. I don't want to listen to the. But then when funny how this current regime is so bad that you even find people like, yeah, Mitch McConnell, Liz Cheney, thanks for helping us, and then this Pope, and I felt like I was watching it on TV, and I felt like they said something like an American Pope, and I'm like, oh my God, they're going to choose an American Pope. I almost jumped on and made a video, but I can't. So many things happen so fast, I can't jump on the computer, make a video about everything. So I just sat there and watched it. I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna, because they were 45 was putting, or he who not be named, was putting up pictures of himself as the Pope, and I'm like, God, what America's in trouble. And they showed up for us. They know we're in trouble, and they got this Pope in there. So let me tell us about this Pope.
Okay, so let me back up a little bit. And I do want to make the point. When I talk about a sign like Pisces, or I talk about a sign like Aries, please know that there is shadow and light on every sign. So if I see something negative about Pisces, collective energy, like Neptune in Pisces brought in more homelessness and like more apathy, please know that that is not a knock on Pisces. That is the shadow of the collective.
Okay.
So there's also the light of the collective, because during Neptune and Pisces, there was a beautiful increase in, YouTube and psychic and astrology. Right. So every coin has two sides. So I just want to make that point, because sometimes people get offended when I'm talking about an individual versus the collective, and that's what we're talking about today, is sort of the collective energy. And so it was funny you said about Aries energy. Aries gets bad rap a lot of the time, and Aries gets the head. You said that you were always hitting your head, and Aries energy is that sort of just go for it. It's cardinal, it's fast, and we're going to notice that things are accelerating. The pace at which everything is happening, like dominoes starting to fall, is just going to accelerate like we can't believe. It's already started to happen, but when Saturn moves into Aries, things are going to go even faster. So think about Pope Francis. He passed away. We had Demi put a picture of himself as the Pope up, and we had Lindsey Graham saying that Demi should be the Pope and that he would think that that was a wonderful thing. And then, like, literally a couple days later, we have a new Pope who's American. All that happened in, like, I don't know, a week and a half, right? Like,
Yeah.
everything's happening so quickly, and it will happen quickly. It's gonna start to happen, and I know that that doesn't sound fun because everything is so hard to even process now, but I think of it visually like dominoes falling. Like, okay, actions have consequences when Saturn's in Aries. So, let's go to this new pope. If people watch astrology channels, that also watch your channel or other psychics, a lot of people were saying this was going to be a very tough week for the president, saying that, the astrology of this past week, Thursday specifically, mirrored some of the astrology, a very potent part of the astrology that mirrored the assassination attempt.
Mm.
And so people were kind of speculating. Oh, well, will he survive this time? And, could this be the nail in the coffin? And, kind of those sort of things. That was the same day that Pope Leo was selected. And so, what's interesting about that to me is astrology is never, people would love it to be this exact science where I say, on this date, you're going to meet Mr. Right and you're going to buy a beautiful home. Like, it's not quite like that because we all have free will. We have choices, and each choice kind of takes you on a different path. But you can sort of see the energy and the symbols. And so here we have a new pope that is a complete opposite, a total juxtaposition to the current energy that we have all been tortured with. So when you have the new pope, he is a super Virgo. He has his sun in Virgo. If you'd like, I can share the chart, but I think people on your channel are not like,
No, you can share the chart.
do you, I think you have to give me sharing. So
Okay, well,
if you
how
don't
do
know
I
how
do
to do
that?
that, then don't worry about it. Let's just talk through. Let's talk it through. So I don't have the time of his birth, but I will tell you that his sun and his moon are both in Virgo. And I can also tell you where the nodes of his moon are. All right, so
Oh.
let's start with the Virgo energy. Virgo's energy is that of being in service. It's about helping people. That is Virgo's main mission. And Virgo sees the ideal. Virgo is very precise. Virgo is very exact. Virgo wants to help people. If you're not totally into Catholicism, the goddess that represents Virgo is Artemis, the protector of women and children. Okay. So understand that this person that was elected is a complete, I believe, like antidote. It's a complete opposite to the energy that we're kind of up against, which is much more narcissistic, which is much more about serving a small group of people versus helping everybody. It's not about helping other people, it's about helping himself, right? So
Mhm.
here's this time when Saturn's about to go into Aries, where we're talking about Neptune. Neptune is religion and spirituality in Aries. So this pope has been elected with Neptune, spirituality in Aries, leadership. This pope was elected as a message and a sign that we are getting help. I firmly believe that it is like, there's a new sheriff in town. That's what I believe. And this new sheriff is much more about helping those who can't help themselves. much more about the true teachings of Jesus when it comes to things like immigration. I read a little bit about Pope Leo, and he was pretty much hand selected by Pope Francis. Francis was preparing for his death, and he put out the message. He picked a lot of the cardinals that selected this pope. So we can see it as a continuation of Francis's legacy. He will be his own man. He will be a different person. And we also have to honor that we can project all sorts of things onto him because he is more progressive and, and he's making the MAGA mad. All that's good. But we just have to kind of trust that there is a cycle of life. And that brings me to this full moon that's coming up. So
Oh,
before I jump into the full moon bit, do you have anything that you want to kind of extrapolate on that I didn't touch about on the Pope?
no, that's so interesting. It just interesting how astrology isn't an exact science. I remember when Obama had some issues on his chart with health coming up.
Yeah.
And some astrologers were saying maybe he has a health issue. And then he did healthcare.
Right.
So that taught me okay, because I remember people were saying, oh, Aries is going into Cancer. This is not a good combination. I'm like, what about the Aries coming forward and protecting, nurturing? Why does it have to be a negative? So I like the way astrology it gives you a roadmap, but it doesn't give you the exact, because they're the energies that you can a lot of my work is about creating and manifesting. You can look at the energy, here's what, I don't like those readings here's what's going to happen. And sorry, I mean, what? No, let's look at what's going to happen, how the energy is set, which is set by astrology. So I look at I'm seeing this with a person. I'm like, so what can you do with that to shift it so that to manifest or to call in, your better angels or whatever, so you can shift this for yourself rather than here's your reading, sorry, you're screwed or whatever. That's just
totally.
because that's a victim. And,
right.
and what does that do? It doesn't,
Right. I just did a reading for a woman who said, oh, well, this last astrologer said that my next marriage would fail. I'm like, there is no way to tell that. That is not real astrology.
Well, yeah. And everything is here to teach you. So if you have a relationship that fails, you're here learning about love. And so there's something in there that you need to learn, or maybe you end up healing it, or but you're destined, so whatever, to learn this lesson or to be with that person. And so
right. There is no failure in that sense. And so what I totally love that. And I think that is something that my philosophical view of astrology is that we do have these energies that cosmically impact us. And I think the more unconscious you are, the more you fall into that sort of collective shadow of the outer planets. Okay. So I don't want to confuse people, but I do want to say that each one of us has our own path. Each one of us has our unique imprint, and how we deal with the messages that we get from spirit, the messages that come through that, someone can be watching you and they hear just what they needed to hear. Right. But it's totally something different than what somebody else needed to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, just interesting. I do my cards every week. I do the destiny cards, and you can do a weekly reading. And during COVID, it was coming up before COVID and stuff, this is not going to be good. And I was like, oh God, what's happening? And I ended up getting severe COVID and all this stuff happened that, but this was before the vaccines, and I healed myself. They didn't know what it was. They were like, oh, take antibiotics to stay at home or something. But so anyway, I did my cards this week, and they came up with death, something is dying, or someone around you, close to you, will die. and this will bring better in the future. And I was like, okay, what is happening? Because sometimes that comes up when I'm doing more mediumship work, but then because I kept looking, okay, like, who's going to die? What's happening? I don't see anybody dying, but there are things within me that are dying. And then when I saw your video and then it started to click, I'm like, oh yeah, the Scorpio full moon, the things, life and death are going deep. And I love Scorpio. My North Node is in Scorpio. I get Scorpio. Um, so it just was really, so it just kind of clicked with me. Okay, that's what it is. It's more like a metaphor. And I had little critters, some, nature always shows up for me. And I've seen, a dead little bird or whatever. And I prayed for its soul or whatever, but that's happening. That's been happening this week. So I'm like, okay, that's what it was. Cause I'm trying to figure out like, okay, what is the death? Is my, a relative? I'm looking at like, is that person okay? I'm like, they look okay. But interesting. So that was.
Yeah. So you and I have kind of that symbolic tie, because I remember you and I talked about before COVID, we had a lot of birds flying into our windows.
Yeah.
We both had that.
Okay. Yeah. I had it before an awakening. Oh, sorry.
Oh, well, what I was just going to say is, just so people know, that I did a video that you can see on my channel about this full moon. And so I go into a little bit longer detail, but I've had some baby animals that I've come across that were dead or dying this week. And
Yeah.
it was very kind of disturbing for me, because like you, these come in like symbolic, like they're messages to me. And so I was really unsettled. But the capper on the video was at the end of the week. A robin's egg fell out of the sky, which basically it fell out of a tree, and a baby bird had just hatched and just come out of the shell.
Yeah.
And like the shell was still wet with the like baby bird goo. And we picked it up and we were like, it really was this sort of full circle moment of like the cycle of life, and things must die for something new to be born. Pope Francis died, and here is Pope Leo, right? I mean, that life is a circle.
Yeah.
Life is, and sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down, but there is new energy coming. And this full moon on May 12th, which is just around the corner, is an amazing opportunity for each and every one of us to really shine a light on kind of our own shadow and step into our own, what I'm calling soul shine, which is like you shine. You are an individual. You have something special to give to the world right now. You are needed. You are needed no matter who you are. And the way we do that is we accept and integrate all of us and know that there are cycles of life, and new stuff is being born right now like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I love this
card today, which I had to laugh about, because one of the baby animals that was part of this story that I tell on my channel was a beautiful baby bunny. And I picked a card today.
Oh,
and it says, "Rabbit spirit, now is a lucky time."
wow. Wow. Well, I've had messages with nature too. And right before I had an awakening, I did this Kundalini. Now, most people if you're not a healer or in the business or the practice or whatever, you probably have a lighter, easier awakening. So don't get, just where you feel like I'm crying and my heart is opening, or but when you start seeing numbers, or you'll have trouble sleeping or digestive issues, but there are things when something's happening. And I think that's happening for a lot of us. A couple years ago, I had a really intense, I did this Kundalini thing, and my Kundalini energy shot up. The lady said, if you do this, it'll change your life forever. And I'm like, Aries, I'm in. Let's do it. Don't even think about it. Let's just do it. So I did it, of course. And my Kundalini shot up. And a week before that, a hawk flew into my windshield.
Wow.
A crow, a dead crow was on my front porch. I've been here for 26 years. That's never happened before. And a blue jay was in a bucket in the backyard dead. I'm like, something's about to happen. And of course, I went for it and I did the exercise. So, I mean, I was having this intense awakening and I just got a dog, my puppy. I couldn't, like, clients would come over and I'd be like, I couldn't talk right. And they'd be like, are you okay? And I'd be like, no. And so I just took my dog and I went up and stood around trees in the hills around here and just kind of grounded myself because I went through this intense awakening. But right before COVID, that morning I was getting really sick. And this is a deep energy and, you know, intense energy and full moons and all that. So that's why I'm bringing this up, and nature and animals. But I thought, I'm getting really sick, so I better take the dog to the doggy daycare because this puppy is destroying the house and I can't even get up to watch her. I could barely. So I made it to the car and I drove him down there and I looked up in the tree and there was about 15 or 20 vultures in the car. I mean, in the tree. And I looked at them and they said to me, you will live through this. And I was like, okay, something's about to happen. So nature will always, the other morning, to tie it back into what we're talking about now, I went up and I've been called back to the hills because I usually just walk around the neighborhood and that's cool. And I get a little, you know, a little bird or something, that's fine. But I've called back to the hills. I saw so many critters yesterday. It was just like, there were sheep, which is sacred. There were lizards. There was a snake. There was a deer. And it was just like it was just like going like, I'm like, wow. And I had a dream that I was supposed to walk up there because I was going to do the short walk. I'm like, no, we need to follow the dream and do the big loop. But it's just kind of like this full moon energy. It's just like a lot happening, kind of like what you were talking about, the intense energy and like, you know, because usually I'll see like 3 or 4 animals, but there was like a hummingbird, dragonflies. I mean, the whole thing it was just like the mountain was alive.
Right. And I think that so I believe that there is synchronicity and timing for all of these transits in the sky, the astrology, the cosmic energy, all has gifts for us if we take it. We can sleep through things. So May 12th, I believe it's, I don't know, a couple days from now. Pay attention to signs and symbols. Go for walks. You know, I remember the last day before my son attended this school, I came home and there were a bunch of turkey vultures in the trees at our house. And that's never happened. And it's never happened since, but he was switching school. So once something was ending. So it's
they're protectors.
They're protector. I agree.
I used to think, they're just around because they're always here. And it's no. My guides told me they're protectors. They're angels. They're winged creatures.
I love the turkey vulture. So, you know, go for a walk. Does a snake cross your path? Like, pay it, like nature is everywhere. Nature is in touch with the cosmos and the spirit. And it's what we do with it. It's really like you can let this time pass and never pay attention to what's happening in the natural world. But there are messages for each and every person watching this channel. And even if you don't go outside, look outside, right? Like there are messages, but we're just so busy. Every single one of us in our daily lives, like doing the laundry and going to the grocery store. And like, if you have to work and you have kids and you know what I mean? Like, and you just get on social media, which is the complete antithesis of nature. It is, you know, it is just like this destructive tool to like bring it. I mean, I know it connects people, but it also does a lot of harm. And we have to kind of step away from the electronics.
Take a break.
Right. Step away.
Use this, take up, if it's a 5, you have to work, you have kids, you have 5 minutes. I used to remember when I had little kids, I used to go in the bathroom and close the door and be like, oh, I could breathe and I could just kind of ground. But, you know, like you're taking a break, if you can go for the day or an hour and get out in nature. And the full moon is a time to release.
Really.
And let what's dying leave. Right. And so that the new can be reborn.
Right.
And whether it's your fear. Yep. I woke up so much anxiety the other morning. I'm like, oh no, this is not real. This is not, you know, it's just energy frequency. I'm going to sit. So I just laid there and I breathe it out. I do that in my members channel, to my members group too. But we do meditation or healing, whatever. But I just laid there and I'm going to breathe this out and I'm going to let this go. This is the collective fear of whatever. And it's not real. It's just a frequency energy. And so that is, to me, what full moons are for, is time to let go of the old and bring in the new. And I love Scorpio new moon. I used to think it was like whenever I was married to whatever guy I was married to, it would be like, that's the time they all cheat. They're going to cheat on the May full moon. And I think it was not that they were cheating on the May full moon, because I'd be like, uh-oh, here comes that May full moon. I better be watching them. But I think that it was now looking, hindsight is 2020, and I wasn't really doing my work back then. I was trying to figure it out still. But I think what was happening is that I was becoming aware that this person was not a good partner. They were not loyal. And that's the full moon was bringing that to me. It wasn't that all of a sudden they just decided to go, have an affair or something.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the truth, is like full moons shine a light on things so we can see them clearer. Things come to fruition. And in Scorpio is about the cycles of life and death. Some things have to die for something new to be born. And so there is this whole kind of energy around regeneration and understanding that the country that we have known all our lives isn't going to be there for us in the same way. But that doesn't mean we have to passively just give it up to corruption and fall into failure. I think that it's about fighting for what we believe in. And also on an individual level, what isn't working in your life that is time to pack away,
Yeah.
and it could be fear. In my own life, I would say that those baby animals passing was stressful for me. I'm not going to lie. It really shook me. But it gave me the opportunity to think through about, like, my mother who is potentially dying, or, she's on a long stretch of this. And, my son's, fears of mortality as he becomes aware of mortality. So these are all themes that are up for me, but that's because of my specific chart. What are the themes that are up for you? And so if you can figure out where some of this energy is in your chart, then you can consciously work with it.
I love that. So what is dying? What is slipping away? And if you take a few minutes, or you ask, or you reflect, then it's just a matter of putting down the phone or the news or something and kind of checking in with yourself, or asking, okay, what is dying so that I can be reborn? What am I releasing so that I can bring in the new? And and kind of being here in this really exciting, dynamic time where everything is kind of falling apart in our country, but something new. But people are standing up. Like you said, the Aries in
Saturn and Aries.
Right. Yeah. The Saturn and Aries. What is coming in to stand up for ourselves, to say, no, we're gonna take this back. We're gonna and starting something new, these new leaders coming forward.
Right. They haven't fully emerged yet, but they will.
Yeah. I want to ask you about, speaking of all that, standing up and everything, a day of no kings.
Kings, yeah.
And then I guess this, I don't guess, there's going to be a huge, how many $1 million for this parade?
$92 million for a parade on Demi's birthday. So that's fun. But you were the one that actually alerted me to the fact that the No Kings protest is the same day as this military parade, which is June 14th. And that's happening in DC. So we pulled the chart for that. And so it's interesting. When I looked at the chart, one of the things that I noticed was Gemini is right next to Jupiter. Jupiter will have just entered Cancer. Okay. So Jupiter in Cancer is going to be a whole new energy that we are all going to be dealing with. I think it's a positive thing in a lot of ways because Jupiter is the natural. Okay, so I'm gonna break it down. Jupiter is luck. Jupiter is expands things. Jupiter is called the greater benefic, which means it gives benefits. Now, sometimes luck is in quotes because we can overdo things as well. So in astrology, there is no good, there is no bad, right? So things that seem bad can be good and vice versa. But Jupiter entering the sign of Cancer just, days before, Cancer is the great mother, the protector, the nurturer, and it also represents the country. The United States Sibyl chart, so countries have charts as well, is we are a Cancer nation. Our sun and several planets are in the sign of Cancer. And so Jupiter is going to be coming up on hitting all those planets. Jupiter in Cancer can be a very healing time. The sun will still be in Gemini, but now I think it is going to be two different energies. I think that the parade in Washington, the military parade in Washington, I think will take place. I think it will be a waste of money. I think it will be in service to someone's ego. I think we'll go probably, so if looking at this chart, I think it will go as he wants it to. It's going to be what he wants. And like everyone around him is going to clap and kiss his booty and, all that's going to happen. It's going to be a colossal waste of money. But at the same time, people are going to be mad that we're cutting veterans benefits. We're cutting support for children while we're having a $92 million military parade. Okay, so I think that there is something about this chart that says, yeah, that's going to happen. And it's probably going to be in service of his ego. And it is going to probably be fine in that sense. But on the flip side, we have Pluto and the moon, both in Aquarius, right next to each other. Okay, so I've talked on this channel. You've probably heard other astrologers talk about how Pluto in Aquarius is much more about the people. And it is much more about power to the people. The moon is the people in a country. So the moon being in Aquarius means a rising up of the people. Here we're going to have the king showing us his North Korean glory with the missiles and the parade. And then everywhere else, we're going to have the actual people feeling the just like they're going to rise up and they are not, it's no kings. I mean, it couldn't be planned any better. The Revolutionary War in the United States, the Revolutionary War in France took place with Pluto and Aquarius. We have the moon, which is the people supporting that movement, saying, you can do that, but we see you. So I think it's going to just be another one of these things where it shows the whole country, the whole world, who he really is, and that it's not in alignment with our greater good.
Yeah, I think his supporters, which I don't think are that much, or some people who are misinformed will think, yeah, this is great. And then a lot of other people are going to go that this is really horrible that he did this. I think it's just going to further divide us, which is what he does.
I think it's, here's what I think. I think he's going to lose support over it.
Okay.
I think it's going to be,
I think you're right. Yeah. I think there's bad press coming out because people are going to be like,
and Saturn and Neptune are sitting right
and this whole thing with the dolls. What is that even about? Like, I think what you're saying is people should have less things and they're going to cost more.
Right, but it's clouded in misogyny. And, notice it's not like you won't get a new fire truck. You maybe won't get 30 fire trucks. You'll have 2. Oh, it's a doll because women, it's like kind of this coded misogyny of like, oh, the little spoiled girls. No one is thinking about dolls. Like, that's not what people are worried about, like paying for groceries. People are worrying about paying for healthcare. People are worrying when their car breaks down that the parts are going to be more expensive. No one's really talking about dolls other than them.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like this, and then they bring up, well,
Who has 30 dolls, by the way?
we don't want transgender boys playing in women's sports. Okay, but is that really an issue when you're trying to close the school down? I mean, there isn't going to be a sports program. So, I mean, how is that? I mean, if that is an issue, okay, but that's not really the main issues like the pressure in your shower. If you're, you can't afford your rent, that you really going to be really upset about, but the shower has low, and he's not changed. My water pressure hasn't changed anything from anything he's done. I mean, it's just like ridiculous talking points that that don't.
The alternate universe that I do believe is going to start to fade away, because the alternate universe is this sort of Piscean energy where things are not very clear and you can lie to people pretty easily. There's deception and illusion with Pisces energy. And again, not saying if you're a Pisces, I have Pisces energy, you have Pisces energy, everybody has Pisces in their chart. So please don't take it personally. But what I'm saying is there has been an unconscious collective shadow that has shown us where negative Pisces has been manifesting for some people, especially in our country. And now on this parade / No King's Day, Neptune and Saturn will be sitting right next to each other in Aries in the sky, right next to the North Node in Pisces. What this tells me is leadership emerging. This tells me North Node in Pisces is about compassion. That's where we want to go. We need to be more compassionate. And so here we have new leaders emerging, people seeing clearly, people seeing that this makes no sense, that this person's spending all this money going golfing every weekend while they're cutting basic research for cancer and things that we all benefit from. And so there is going to be a rising up of people who are saying, this does not make sense. I thought we were trying to cut the deficit. Why are we giving tax cuts that will increase the deficit while we're pretending to cut the deficit? So that's my rant.
Okay. Wow. And let me ask you one more question.
Okay.
And this might be, if it's another video, because it's probably a huge topic, but I have these dreams of a new and perfect world here on Earth, but it was hundreds of years away. So that doesn't really help people now. But when really does this new age of Aquarius start? Is it when is that a whole nother video?
It's a whole nother video, and also one that I don't know that I'm the person to answer that, in all honesty, because I am a much more like focus on what you can do here and now astrologer.
Okay.
And I do think there is this kind of big picture, and I can pontificate on that, but that's what it would be speculation. And I love history. So I do a lot of historical videos on my channel.
Yeah, I've seen it where you have the cycles that are really interesting. People should check that out.
Yeah. And so many times throughout history, people have predicted the end of the world and people have predicted utopia. And neither tends to, in the past couple thousand years, neither have happened. Now,
Yeah.
is that the end of the world for some people? Like, did half the population in Britain die during the plague? Yes, and I imagine that felt dystopian and it felt like apocalyptic when we were going through it. But life has a way of going on. And I do believe that if we are getting to some kind of utopian future, it is so far away that it's something that I personally can't even fully get my energy or my mind around. But I do think you can have your own heaven on earth by living your destiny. Like, because good choices, this is the thing I'm really, really on right now. Because someone asked me about portals. And I was like, just the way my mind works, I don't think I'm a super grounded, like, sometimes I'm not as imaginative. And to me, a portal is a choice. It's a door. And we have choices. And when we open the right door, we walk through the right choice, To walk through the right portal, it ripples out and changes everything around us. When we walk through the wrong door or we walk through a poorly made decision, which we've all done, myself included, it ripples out negatively. And all of this impacts everybody on the earth. It's that butterfly effect. There is something to the fact that the more we all make conscious, good decisions, the more we make a better world for all of us. And so that may be, to me, the Aquarian age. We make choices that benefit everybody, not just ourselves. And that's a long time away, given what I'm currently seeing. But we might be walking through that new portal where there's, we come together a little bit more and we're less divided and we see the potential for our future.
Hence the No Kings Parade.
So
the full moon.
They're not,
the new Pope.
We have
and
our
the
opinions.
Aries coming into,
Yeah, we have our opinions.
Danny.
We're human. This is, for entertainment purposes only. We are not trying to, advocate that you do anything in your own personal life, but be conscious. This is what we want you to do, is to really be conscious. Use the planetary energy. Use the messages from spirit and from nature to live your best life.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, it's been so amazing to have you on.
Thanks for having
been
me.
really great. And I think you said Lawless. I'll put that on the community page. What is it? What's your channel again?
Lawless Astrology. So
Lawless Astrology. Okay. All right. I'll put that on my community page. And please like and subscribe. It helps us with the work that we're doing. Get these messages of, awareness and consciousness and all these energies that are affecting us that we don't always think about maybe in our daily life, but is really helpful to know. So thank you so much. And it's been an honor to have you on the show. It's been delightful and informative and fun. And so thank you again. And thanks everybody for tuning in. And we'll see you.
Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah. Oh, happy Mother's Day, of course. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. And